The rain hammered against the observation dome with relentless fury, each drop sounding like a tiny fist demanding entry. Sarah Chen sat motionless in her field chair, barely breathing, as three furry bodies pressed against her torso beneath her thermal jacket. The cubs had crawled there 20 minutes ago, seeking warmth and shelter from the storm that had swept across the Kepler 442b wilderness without warning. She hadn't moved since. The mother razor cat paced 15 meters away, her 6 legs carrying her massive frame in tight circles around the clearing. Every few seconds, the creature would pause, her 4 eyes fixed on Sarah with an intensity that made the xenobiologist's heart hammer in her chest. The razor cat's name was earned honestly. Retractable claws lined each of her 6 paws, sharp enough to slice through reinforced composite armor. Her jaw could unhinge like a Terran snake, revealing rows of teeth designed for tearing and crushing. Sarah had watched this particular razor cat for 3 months, documenting her behavior from a safe distance, always maintaining the proper protocols. Never get close, never interfere, never, under any circumstances, touch the offspring. She'd broken all 3 rules in the span of 5 minutes. The storm had come from nowhere, a characteristic of Kepler 442b's volatile weather patterns. Sarah had been documenting the cubs' play behavior when the first drops fell. Within seconds, the drizzle became a deluge. The mother had been hunting, leaving her 3 cubs exposed in the clearing. The youngsters, each no bigger than a house cat, had panicked immediately. Sarah knew she should have stayed in her observation blind. That's what the manual said. That's what 12 years of training demanded. But when she saw the smallest cub, the one with the distinctive white patch on her shoulder, stumbling toward the cliff edge in blind panic, something in her human brain overrode every bit of protocol. She'd lunged forward, scooping up the cub before it tumbled over the precipice. The little creature's sibling had immediately tackled Sarah's leg, climbing up her pants with needle-sharp claws. The 3rd cub had followed, all 3 of them seeking the warmth and shelter of the strange 2-legged creature who smelled different but felt safe. That's when the mother returned. Sarah had frozen, cubs clinging to her, as the razor cat emerged from the tree line. The creature had stopped, her body going rigid. For a long moment, nothing happened. The rain continued falling. The cubs mewled softly against Sarah's stomach. And the mother razor cat made a decision. Instead of attacking, she'd begun to pace. Now, as Sarah's legs cramped and her back ached from remaining absolutely still, she wondered if this was how she would die. Torn apart on an alien world because she couldn't follow simple rules. Her colleagues at the research station would shake their heads. They'd write reports about protocol violations. Her mother would cry on Earth, 900 light-years away, never understanding why her daughter had thrown away everything for 3 alien cubs. But Sarah understood. It was the same reason humans had domesticated wolves 30,000 years ago. The same reason they'd bottle-fed orphaned deer, rescued beached whales, and wept over injured birds. Humans were cursed with empathy that extended beyond their own species. It was illogical, dangerous, beautiful. One of the cubs shifted beneath her jacket, tiny claws kneading her shirt. The sensation reminded Sarah of her childhood cat, Mr. Whiskers, who'd done the same thing while purring. These cubs couldn't purr, but they made a similar sound, a low thrumming that vibrated through their small bodies. The mother razor cat stopped pacing. She turned fully toward Sarah, and for the first time, their eyes met directly. The creature's 4 eyes were arranged in 2 pairs, the upper set slightly larger than the lower. They glowed faintly in the dim storm light, reflecting the bioluminescent fungi that grew on the nearby trees. Sarah tried to keep her breathing steady. She'd read countless studies on predator behavior across multiple worlds. Eye contact could be interpreted as a challenge. Looking away might signal fear, triggering a chase response. She needed to project calm neutrality, to become as boring and non-threatening as possible. The razor cat took a step forward, then another. Her 6 legs moved with liquid grace, silent despite her size. She was magnificent. Nearly 200 kilograms of evolved perfection, muscles rippling beneath fur that could change color to match her surroundings. Right now, in the rain and dim light, her coat had shifted to a mottled gray-green. Sarah's survival instinct screamed at her to run. Her rational mind knew that running would be fatal. Razor cats could accelerate to 60 kilometers per hour in 3 seconds. She wouldn't make it 10 meters. The creature approached until she was less than 3 meters away. This close, Sarah could see the scars on her flanks, evidence of past battles, could smell the musky alien scent of her fur, could hear the low rumble building in the razor cat's chest. Then, slowly, deliberately, the mother razor cat sat down. Her haunches settled onto the wet ground, her tail wrapping around her body. She continued to watch Sarah, but the aggressive tension had left her posture. They sat that way for over an hour. The storm gradually lessened, the hammering rain becoming a steady patter, then a light drizzle. The cubs beneath Sarah's jacket had fallen asleep, their small bodies warm and heavy against her. Her left foot had gone completely numb. Her right shoulder burned from maintaining the same position, but she didn't move. As the rain finally stopped, the clouds began to break apart. Kepler 442b's sun, slightly cooler and more orange than Earth's, peeked through the gaps. Steam began rising from the jungle floor as the temperature climbed. The forest came alive with sounds as creatures emerged from their shelters. One of the cubs stirred, yawning widely enough for Sarah to see tiny, sharp teeth. The little creature blinked, seemed confused about where it was, then crawled out from under the jacket. Its siblings followed, tumbling onto the wet ground with squeaks of protest. The mother razor cat stood immediately. She approached, and Sarah felt her heart rate spike again. But the creature simply lowered her massive head and began grooming her cubs, her long tongue rasping across their fur. The cubs mewled and squirmed, climbing over each other in their eagerness to reach their mother. Sarah remained frozen, barely believing she was still alive. The smallest cub, the one with the white patch, turned back toward her. For a moment, their eyes met. Then the little creature chirped, a sound Sarah had only heard cubs make toward their mothers, and bounded back to her siblings. The razor cat finished grooming her offspring, then did something that made Sarah's breath catch. The creature looked directly at her and performed a behavior Sarah had observed only between bonded pairs. She slow blinked, closing all 4 eyes for a long moment before opening them again. It was a gesture of trust, of acknowledgement, of something that transcended species. Then the mother razor cat gathered her cubs with gentle nudges and low calls. The family moved toward the tree line, the cubs tumbling over each other in their haste. At the edge of the clearing, the mother paused and looked back one final time. Sarah, finally allowing herself to move, raised her hand in a small wave. The razor cat tilted her head, regarding this strange gesture from the strange creature who had saved her cub. Then she turned and vanished into the jungle, her family following close behind. Sarah sat for several more minutes, trembling as the adrenaline drained from her system. Then she began to laugh, quietly at first, then louder. She was alive. She'd held 3 apex predator cubs against her chest while their mother watched, and she was alive. Her communicator crackled to life. "Chen, what's your status? You missed your last 3 check-ins." Sarah picked up the device, still grinning. "I'm good, Base. Just had an interesting afternoon." "Define interesting." She looked at her jacket, now covered in mud and marked with dozens of tiny claw holes. Looked at the clearing where a mother razor cat had chosen trust over violence. Looked at the jungle where 3 cubs were learning that sometimes, in a vast and dangerous universe, kindness could come from the most unexpected sources. "I'll tell you when I get back," Sarah said. "But you might want to update the xenobiology protocols. I think we've been underestimating how much we have in common with the local fauna." As she packed up her equipment and began the hike back to the research station, Sarah Chen carried with her a truth that humans had known since they first looked up at the stars. They were predators, yes, dangerous, yes, but they were also something more. They were the species that couldn't walk past a crying infant without stopping, the species that would risk everything for creatures that weren't even their own. In the great cosmic arena, that might be humanity's strangest trait. Not their technology or their intelligence or their stubborn refusal to quit, but their ability to see something small and helpless and think not prey, but protect. That evening, as Sarah filed her report and faced the inevitable disciplinary hearing, she found she didn't care much about the consequences. She'd seen something beautiful in that clearing, a moment of understanding between two predator species, separated by evolution and 900 light-years, yet connected by something fundamental. The smallest razorcat cub would grow up with a memory of being saved by a strange creature that smelled wrong and moved wrong, but felt safe. And somewhere in that cub's developing brain, a seed would be planted. Not all unknown things are threats. Sometimes they're friends you haven't met yet. It was a lesson humanity had learned long ago, when they'd invited wolves to share their fires. A lesson they'd carried with them across the stars, often at great cost, never quite able to suppress their dangerous, beautiful instinct to care. As Sarah looked out at the alien jungle, now peaceful under the setting sun, she smiled. Somewhere out there, 3 cubs were curling up to sleep against their mother's warm fur. And maybe, just maybe, they were dreaming of the strange 2-legged creature who had held them during the storm. The galaxy was vast and often cruel, but in small moments like these, in the space between fear and trust, something remarkable happened. Connections formed, understanding grew, and the universe became just a little bit less lonely.